veliko mi je zadovoljstvo pozdraviti među nama naše sjajne glazbenike, dame i gospodo, Gil Shaham i Davida Robertson. Dear guests, thank you for a beautiful concert tonight and beautiful experience. Thank you and each member of that great orchestra, Deutsches Symphonie-Orchester Berlin. It was really
our pleasure.
Yeah.
Yes, great pleasure.
Maestro Robertson, how did you choose this program for this tour? And what's your personal relation with each piece?
The Rachmaninoff is perfect for this orchestra because they, as you hear, they play really beautifully as a group. That was clear in the Tchaikovsky. You can accompany with them, and it's like you have just one instrument and not a whole orchestra. But in the Rachmaninoff, each one of the individual players, you know, whether it's second oboe or second bassoon or first horn or solo clarinet or solo viola, everyone has a moment where their personal artistry comes across. And so that was the main idea of the choice. And then there is no more fun to be had in the world than being on stage with Gil for the Tchaikovsky. And then I think the Lily Boulanger is a very touching reminder of how fragile human life is, because she was only, I think, 24. And this piece, the orchestration was finished from her hospital bed before she died. And yet it sounds so joyous and full of life. And I think that kind of sets up the mystery of, you know, what happens with music and communication. And so that's kind of how the program got built.
Thank you. I will just translate shortly. Ukratko ću prevesti, dakle, pitanje je bilo vezano uz večerašnji program. Kaže, Rahmanjinov je divno djelo u kojem svaka dionica, svaki član orkestra zapravo može pokazati svoje umjeće i zato to voli raditi, pogotovo s ovim orkestrom. Čajkovski, jer nema većeg zadovoljstva nego podijeliti pozornicu s gospodinom Shahamom u izvedbi Čajkovskoga, a Lili Boulanger je zapravo dirljiv podsjetnik kako krhak je ljudski život. Ona je ovo djelo napisala u bolesničkoj postelji sa 24 godine. Mr. Shaham, how long do you play Tchaikovsky concerto? How long do you have it on your repertoire?
I don't know. I don't want to think about. Maybe you know, roughly, maybe 40 years. Smoothly, not yet, but roughly, maybe 40 years.
Dakle, kaže, otprilike 40 godina ima na repertoaru koncert Čajkovskoga. Do you have a feeling that something changed in your interpretation during these years?
Well, I should say, there is no more fun for a violinist than to be on stage and play the Tchaikovsky violin concerto with David and this amazing orchestra. I must say, maybe there is an advantage to getting older after all, you know, that maybe with music we do get some kind of perspective. And I do remember Maestro Loren Mazel once saying to me, he said, Gil, you'll see the older you get, the more you will enjoy music. And I think I'm beginning to understand what he meant. I think it's true. So the answer is yes, absolutely. Now I see the piece differently than I did, you know, maybe 20 years ago.
Dakle, uzvratio je kompliment maestru Robertsonu i kaže da, to se mijenja i kao što je maestro Mazel rekao, ima prednosti u tome što postajete stariji i kaže sada više uživa u glazbi. Maestro Robertson, you are known as a conductor who chose pieces very carefully and put it together very carefully. And do you have some recipe how to present the audience the unknown pieces and the new pieces?
I'll try to keep my answers short. I felt bad about the other one, big long, and then you had to translate, but you were great. I think a concert is a unique experience, so it doesn't happen again. We play pieces more than once, but the combination of the three pieces tonight won't ever happen again like this. And the people in the audience won't ever be the same ones. So I try to make it a little bit more like an evening at the theater, where there's subject matter in the play. I saw on a poster today that the play of Ödön von Horvath, Don Juan Returns from the War, will be done by a theater company here. And in a play like that, there are many different ideas. And those different ideas appeal to each audience member differently. So I want to make a program that gives each audience member something they can think about, and it may not be the same that someone else thinks about.
Dakle, pitanje je bilo vezano, maestro je poznat po pažljivom biranju programa i predstavljanju i novih dijela i slično, i vidim da ste razumjeli, samo ću kratko reći. Dakle, trudi se, svjestan je da je to jedinstveno iskustvo, svaki koncert je neponovljiv zapravo u ovakvoj izvedbi i jednom za publiku za koju ga predstavlja, i trudi se zapravo to sve organizirati na način teatra sa nekim sadržajem i ponuditi sadržaj u kojem će svako u publici naći nešto za sebe, a to nikada nisu iste stvari. Dakle, na taj način razmišlja i organizira koncert. Mr. Shaham, you have a beautiful violin and you own that violin. Is that right?
I'm very lucky with my violins. It's a little bit of an embarrassment of riches, really. The violin that I played tonight actually is not my violin. It's a violin that I'm borrowing, which is a beautiful Stradivarius from 1719. And it's called the Haupt Stradivarius. And I feel like I should mention, it's on, I'm lucky to be playing it through the activities of a group called In Consortium in New York. And that's how I'm able to play this beautiful violin.
But is it Comtesse Polignac?
It's not the Comtesse, but you are right. The Comtesse Polignac is my violin, which I own. Yeah. So it is like, it's a bit of an embarrassment of riches. But I was very happy to play it tonight.
So you are master for Stradivarius violins. That's your level, okay.
No, you know, violinists who are always like, there are two types of violinists. You either are a Del Gesù violinist or a Stradivarius violinist. And I always thought I was a Del Gesù violinist. But here I am, 40 years later, playing Strads for 40 years, you know? So, yeah.
Dakle, ovo nije Comtesse Polignac violina koju on posjeduje, nego druga Stradivari violina koju koristi preko njujorške zaklade. And tell me, when you play Stradivarius, you have expectation. And then, does it fulfill always everything? Is it inspiring for you to try new things because you have such a beautiful violin?
You know, violins are really like people. You know, you're talking about very microscopic fibers of wood that vibrate a certain way. So each violin has their own personality. And in one way, they're like people. And in another way, they are like smartphones. You know, I'm only beginning to learn what it can do, you know. So I'm learning a lot from this violin, and it has such a range of colors, and as you say, it's really a pleasure. It's a privilege for violinists to play a great instrument like that.
Dakle, privilegij je svirati sjajan instrument i kaže violine su kao ljudi, svaka je malo drugačija u nekom malom segmentu, a s druge strane su kao mobilni telefoni jer on tek otkriva što zapravo violina može i služi se samo malim dijelom njezinih mogućnosti. Maestro Robertson, this year you are involved in a project connected with the anniversary of Pierre Boulez because you knew him, you cooperated with him. What would you say, what is his main legacy now 100 years after his birth?
That's a good question. Certainly probably the greatest legacy will be the people and the students he worked with, because he was very generous with his time, and so many of the ideas about clarity and precision and being the servant of the composer will go out to other people. Another thing I learned from him is that all of his conducting, all of the programs he did were to help an audience understand his music. And that was fascinating, because he loved the music, but if you understood and felt drawn to the music that he was conducting, then it would be easier for you to understand what he wanted to do as a composer.
Do you think it's good then to be a conductor and a composer or not?
I am, so I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I'm going to say it's good, and my wife says it's good, and that's probably the most important. But I think the performer who knows how hard it is to capture a musical idea will be, I think, a better person at understanding how hard it is for someone else. It's a little bit like when you see a butterfly in a field and it's so beautiful and it's doing this, and you get out your net and you go. And then you grab the butterfly and you bring it home and you put it on the table, and then you take a pin and you go, and then you go, why aren't you flying? And this is very much when you're composing, you have this idea and it's so wonderful, and you put it down on paper, and then you go, where did you go? This beautiful idea, now you just are a bunch of notes. And so this is where someone like Gil comes in and looks at those notes and says, here.
Or someone like you.
Yeah, well, I try.
Dakle, pitanje je bilo vezano uz 100. obljetnicu Pierrea Bouleza, rođenja Pierrea Bouleza s kojim je maestro surađivao, i kaže da je njegova najveća ostavština zapravo ljudi koje je educirao, s kojima je radio, jer je bio vrlo darežljiv u tom poslu. Međutim, isto tako da sve što je dirigirao, sve što je radio je zapravo bilo zato da bi ljude osposobio da razumiju kako on sklada, da bi razumio njegove skladbe. I zato sam pitala je li dobro onda biti skladatelj i dirigent ili ne. Kaže maestro, ne znam, ali ja jesam i jedno i drugo. Dakle, i skladatelj i dirigent. I zatim je slijedila ova priča o leptiru kojeg zapravo uhvatite i stavite kod kuće i on kad ne leti nije toliko čaroban. Tako i sa tim idejama koje ulovite, stavite na papir i onda se pitate gdje su. I onda trebate ljude poput njih koji će te ideje opet razletiti, ili kako da to već kažemo. Mr. Shaham, you also record a lot, not just play a lot, but record a lot, and maybe 20 years ago you started your own label, Canary Classics. And why did you do it? Before that you had a contract with Deutsche Grammophon or something like that, yeah? And why did you do it? And what's your idea about the program for recording?
You know, I feel like technology has really set us free as artists. You know, there are things that we can do today that we couldn't even imagine before, you know. When I first started recording, you would go into a studio and they had what they called Dolby machines. And the Dolby machines were the size of refrigerators, you know. And now, you know, you can make the highest quality recording on I was going to say on your laptop, but actually you can probably do it on your phone, you know. And we are able now to reach our audience with the touch of a button, you know, which we could never do before. So 20 years ago, I guess, you know, many other musicians and orchestras and other musical groups started doing this too. I guess I felt like maybe I'd been around long enough to have some kind of following such that it wouldn't be that risky to try this, you know? And on the other hand, I love the freedom that you can do once you make your own recordings, you publish your own CDs. And this world has changed so much, you know. Nowadays, I think I read someplace that, of course, still streaming, you know, but people are buying LPs now. And I think LP sales, at least in classical music, are now higher than CD sales. So it's very interesting. It's an ever-changing world. And I find as, not just for me as a business model, but for art, it makes so much sense for the artists to own their own music, you know? It just means freedom. And technology has allowed us to do this.
Do you listen your old recordings?
I don't.
I do.
You do?
I do. To his recordings.
To his, but your
Yes.
But your own recordings?
Sometimes by accident. My children will be playing and I'll say, "Oh, that's really quite good." And they'll say, "Yes, it's you." So
Yeah, please.
You know, when we're making them, we listen to them so much, you know, and so then afterwards, we don't really.
Dakle, pitanje je bilo vezano uz zapravo diskografsku kuću Canary Classics koju je gospodin Shaham pokrenuo prije 20 godina. Prije toga je imao ugovor sa Deutsche Grammofonom, pa je bilo pitanje zašto je to učinio i kaže da zapravo ova tehnologija današnja čini umjetnike slobodnima. I zapravo ako imate svoju izdavačku kuću možete objavljivati ono što sami želite u kvaliteti koju sami želite i tako dalje. I kaže puno se toga mijenja u tom svijetu. Znači kad je on počeo snimati, tu su bile velike Dolby mašine, danas sve napravite sa mobitelom ili laptopom i u jednom kliku ste povezani sa svima što je umjetnicima jako bitno. Međutim, kaže, ne sluša svoje stare snimke. Evo, složili su se obojica da zapravo ne vole slušati svoje stare snimke. Maestro Robertson...
you speak Croatian beautifully.
Thank you very much. That's my language, maybe that's why.
That's true.
I'm sorry that I don't speak English so beautifully.
No, that part is great.
Maestro, you also teach conducting.
Yes.
At the Curtis Institute. And
No, at Juilliard.
At Juilliard,
yes.
Okay. And what would you say, what's the most important for the young person to learn, to have, to be a conductor, to become a conductor? What to do?
I think the secret is establishing a sense of trust. We often feel as conductors that we are responsible for the quality. But everyone there is responsible for the quality. It's an artistic collective. And so your job is almost, to borrow from business, it's almost like you're a project manager in a fantastic research lab. And you have the person over here who is the specialist in metals and what happens, how much stress they can go under. And you have the person here who understands all about pressures of gases. And you have this person here, and he's the most advanced on silicon chips. And all of these people get together, and you know something about all of this, but you come in and you have the blueprint of what it is that we all need to work on. And then you use the incredible intelligence and talent you have to make that happen. And that trust that the orchestra are also as invested as you are is very hard for young conductors. They don't trust it. And I was very sorry we didn't have my students in Berlin because we did the general rehearsal in a different hall than we rehearsed in, so everyone is adjusting. And the beginning of the second movement is hard to conduct because it's very free, and the brass are playing ba, 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 and it's not like ba, 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 ba. You can't count it, you have to feel it. And the first time through, it wasn't really together. And and I heard where it wasn't together, and I realized what my gestures were. We went through it again afterwards, and I did, I think, slightly better gestures, and each one of the brass players went, oh, I was too early, I was too late. All of them corrected things they were upset about, and it was perfect. And I didn't say a thing. And this doesn't mean that we're not all aware of it. But I think the danger is if I said, you were not together. We must do it now. You together. Red. No, not together. If I say, you don't know anything about metal. I'm going to get another scientist. That never really works very well. I mean, it didn't work with my kids.
Dakle, maestro i predaje dirigiranje na Juilliardu i pitanje je bilo vezano uz to kako zapravo postati dirigent, što učiniti, i kaže da prvenstveno treba imati povjerenja. To je njegov savjet mladim ljudima, mladim dirigentima, jer svi misle dirigent je odgovoran za kvalitetu, što nije točno. Dakle, svi su odgovorni, svaki član orkestra. I zato kaže, pred sobom imate stručnjake iz raznih područja, a dirigent je onaj ko to sve treba menadžirati. I dao je primjer sa probe. Kaže, nisu bili zajedno na početku drugog stavka, puhači i slično, i samo je ponovio i svi su toga bili svjesni, bez da je u to upro prstom, bez da je galamio, i sve se ispravilo. Dakle, stvar je stava i toga da osvijestite ljude da zajedno stvaraju projekt. My dear guests, but for the end, we have to say that you are actually related. You are part of the same family. Yes. And actually your sister is your wife. Yeah?
That's right.
And
Yes.
And she's a pianist.
Yes, she's a very wonderful pianist.
Tell me, who's better, brother or sister?
Well, he's better at violin.
She's better in piano, yeah? Okay.
But they, what is interesting is when they play together, they've been playing together since they were kids. And so there's a kind of naturalness to the playing and a communication which is wonderful to behold. And what's nice is that by marriage, I have some of that same communication, because we go to grandma's house and one of the children all of a sudden gets bitten by a dog, and we're all sudden, so there are all of these kinds of things going on, or someone drops spaghetti sauce on the floor, and so we're all cleaning it up together. And that means when you get out to the stage, it's relatively easy.
Yes. I should say, David and I know each other even before, much before we became relatives. So we really, when we were kids, we worked together.
Yes.
together. I mean, kind of kids.
Pretty
you know?
much. Yeah, pretty young.
And Orly and David got
Yeah.
met maybe 10 years afterwards, right?
Yeah, let's see,
Yeah.
what was it? No, actually, yeah.
Or maybe even longer.
12 years afterwards. Yeah. So, and I didn't know he had a little sister, which is good at the time, because she would have been very young,
Right,
and I think that would have made my mind a little strange. Yeah.
Dakle, njih dvojica su šogori, mi bismo rekli. Sestra gospodina Shahama je supruga maestrova i kaže, pa sam pitala ko je bolji, on kaže on je bolji violinista, ona bolja pijanistica, ali kaže oni su svirali od malena zajedno i osjeća se ta povezanost kad oni sviraju i maestro kaže da je on zapravo sad isto došao do te povezanosti s njim preko zapravo supruge jer puno vremena provode zajedno u nekim obiteljskim atmosferama i slično. My dear guests, thank you so much, and we wish you all the best in your careers, and we wish you to come back very soon.
And
Thank
to
you so
you
much.
too.
Thank you
To
very
you
much.
too. Thank you. Thank you.